Hi, and welcome to this episode of Rare Book Chat.
In this episode, we learned some gruesome details about the California Gold Rush through a collection of autographed letters coming up at Swan auction galleries, and share our appreciation of the cataloger's narrative style. We then shift to a discussion of quackery, inspired by a 17th century book on plague remedies. But who are we to judge? Maybe wine and self-confidence really can prevent you from getting the plague. As always, let us know your thoughts. Feel free to email us at hello@rarebookchat.com and follow us on Instagram. Enjoy the show. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Michael. I was looking through the catalog for an upcoming sale at Swan Galleries, printed in manuscript Americana, November 21st. And I found a lot that I enjoyed reading the description so much. Lot number 48, a collection of letters by a gold rush miner named Warren H. Porter. Estimate's $15,000 to $25,000. So that's a substantial estimate, but it's a substantial cache of letters. But it's this unknown guy, right? But he's a gold rush adventurer. And, he's not a 49er. He's 1850, so he kind of missed the boat.
Well, he doesn't miss it by much.
Like, not a 49er, though. He missed it by a year, at least. And, the fact that he did miss the boat might have been the reason that this turned out to be such a grim tale because, well, he ended up shot dead.
It's a gruesome story.
It's a gruesome story. And the last letter is a letter that is sent back home to the poor guy's wife, telling of his senseless murder. And
quite vividly. We'll get to that, but
yeah,
that stunned me.
It's just terrible. He's shot in the back and then shot in the head. And
I know, it's a whole story here.
It's a whole story. It's a whole story. And so I did enjoy reading the catalog description, but it's also in the way that you read a novel.
No, you're not kidding. The cataloger plays in that. Can I read the opening line of the description? Not Warren Porter's letters.
Warren Porter.
Of all the sad stories in the California gold fields, Warren Porter's was sadder than most. That just sounds like the beginning of a novel. It sounds like a children's book.
No, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Of all the who's in Whoville. That's just what it sounds like.
But see, then the second sentence, I feel like a good editor would have put a little pressure on that word senselessly, because he writes, he went west in April 50 and was senselessly murdered in 1853.
We're talking about a good editor of a catalog description, though.
No, I'm just. We're also
high expectations.
I think what we're saying though is we're looking at this and saying like there's real literary merit in this catalog description.
We respect the description so much.
Exactly, we respect it so much.
Such high standards.
Yeah, we want a good editor to come along and say, can we do something with that senselessly, because it sort of has a weird suggestion that there are sensible murders. But anyway.
Yeah, these letters start when they start, 1850?
I don't know.
1850, yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
Who cares?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, we're just I don't know. We haven't even seen the archive. We're just having fun with, or appreciating. We're not having fun.
Yeah, no.
It's a good archive though. It's cool. I mean, it's got a real arc. That's what I like about it. It starts in Panama, and he's going to travel from Panama to California by boat. And right away in Panama, there's violence, there's craziness. In America, a drunk American kills a native of Panama simply because the native wouldn't take him across some body of water in a canoe. So the drunk guy shoots him, kills him, senseless.
Yeah, it's like a Cormac McCarthy villain or something.
Yeah, it's a bad guy, definitely a bad guy. And then the following week, a fight breaks out. Dissolute barkeep, a guy named Summers. Summers stoops to pick up a stone. Next thing you know, he's dead.
Well, he stooped to pick up a stone and then was knocked down by a stone. No, this actually, we're telling like a story, but as you said, it's real, and I kind of get these like shivers of gruesomeness, and the fact that, I mean, if we had the pages in front of us, we'd feel it more. This really happened. We're reading somebody's actual words on the page, and that's why I love primary documents so much.
And it's very vivid and specific and concrete. The guy writes, the natives have no firearms, or very few at least, and all their execution has been by stone or in close fight with knives. Anyway, it's this cache of letters. And so he goes from Panama to California, and that's when things really go downhill for him. He arrives in San Francisco in 1850. He's disappointed because he writes, the fact is the mines are exhausted. That is, the river bars and diggings have been turned over and over. And skipping ahead, he says, very few are getting rich fast.
Yeah, that's true.
So I love the bluntness of that. He's just so unapologetic about, like, he's a get rich quick kind of guy. It's just funny, and it's sad, but
he's not intentionally being funny.
He writes, my house is wherever my blankets are.
That's it. See, that's a poetic line. Johnny Appleseed.
Back to the cataloger's flair here, which I really appreciate. Porter's next letter was an epic 44-page effort. I like that. Because, I mean, like, a 44-page letter, who's going to read that? It's going to be a damn good letter. And anyway,
Oh, no. Here's Porter again.
yeah, right. And the cataloger writes, in a snazzy string-bound miners and travelers pocket letter book with gilt-printed black glossy wrappers.
I saw a picture of it. It's snazzy.
It is snazzy, right?
That's not a word you see in catalog descriptions very often.
I know. I appreciate that. I like that. A little flair. So anyway, he writes, this is back to the get rich quick stuff. He writes, all my dreams of acquiring a fortune in a few weeks are fled, unless, by accident, I stumble on diggings richer than one in 10,000.
By accident. By the way, you skipped a good detail. He wrote that from Hangtown.
I know, Hangtown. I know. But I love, like, hope springs eternal for this guy. You know, but he knows he's a get rich quick guy. He knows it's not working, but he still, he might, the shovel goes
1,000 shot.
Yeah, right. He's just
that he might stumble on.
He describes his bed resembling the chips of a stonemason.
That's Hangtown for you.
That's Hangtown, right? And he has an awareness that things are kind of not great. He writes he wouldn't bring his daughter Alice up in California, not for all the gold in it, unless society improves greatly. So he knows that he's in a dark place.
Foreshadowing, actually, too.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't know it's foreshadowing.
No. So then the guy is going to go into a partnership to create a water company. So their project is to dig a massive ditch.
Sounds reasonable.
It's just one thing after the next. As he writes, we expect to finish it in 3 months, and it will require all my means and work. For this reason, I can make you no remittance at present. If it fails, I lose another season. Then later on, he writes, the ditch is unfinished, though.
Actually, that is a really sad statement. It's very matter of fact.
Right?
Imagine you're his wife and you open it up and you're like, oh, how's the ditch coming along? The ditch is unfinished, and therefore there's little demand for the stock.
He goes out, he realizes he is too late. What?
That's his last letter.
Yeah.
Those are the last words his wife read from him. The ditch is unfinished.
The ditch is unfinished. Well, we don't know that. That's the last letter in the archive.
Okay. Let's hope there was something more cheerful.
There weren't too many cheerful letters coming out of this guy. But then the next letter is from one of his associates, Henry Alvord, July 1853. It is my painful duty. This is informing of the senseless murder. It is my painful duty to inform you of a sad accident. An accident.
Yeah.
He left. So he's describing what befell. Well, sad Porter. He writes, he left his boarding house in the morning to examine the ditch and was found about 12 o'clock by the side of the path, dead. He was shot through the small of the back, and the bullet came through the skin in the front. And after he fell, it is supposed by his friends that his murderer stood over him and shot him again through his head, scattering his brains in every direction.
Hold on. If this is your loved one,
yeah,
and you're reading about the murder,
yeah, I know. You start out by saying it's an accident, then you speculate like,
it's my painful duty. It sounds like he's loving describing this.
It's not a delicately written letter.
Who writes to the wife of a murdered person?
I know.
And it describes it. Shot again through the head, his brain scattered.
The cataloger says an accident indeed. Very wry.
Well, I like this catalog. I don't know who it is, but I like
it too. Yeah. It's a sad case. Anyway, so there's a record that in October 1855, the ditch company, water company, was sold for $1,100, $1,126, and that $1,648 in cash was sent home to Porter's heirs. So, I mean, maybe he did okay in the end. I don't know. $1,600 in 1850. I don't know how much that would be worth. But
I think it's okay, but I don't know. Is that okay for him?
I don't know. With his luck, maybe they were glad.
No, I mean, his brains are on the.
I know. He paid for it with his brains, but maybe his family was like,
I'm comfortable with our tone here.
I know it's a little cruel, but
it started out as a children's story of all the sad stuff.
I know it did, but the other thing is you're kind of like
cataloger's a borderline genius.
No, I mean I don't know. Maybe
depends where your border is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a lot. I think it's a great description. I really enjoyed reading it. Is it too soon? Like, I think enough time has passed.
Well, you're cold-hearted.
I don't know. 175 years. What are you gonna do? It's poor guy. I mean, he is dead. He's dead as a doornail. But he would have been dead anyway. I mean,
he would have been dead
anyway. By now, and he would have been long dead.
Let's watch the sale. There are a lot of good things in the sale.
I love stuff like this because it really brings you into this guy's life. And we're joking around, but it's a sad situation. The guy goes out there. He's a year too late. How's he supposed to know?
No, actually, the gold rush is full of sad situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very American, kind of a little archive here. You have like get rich quick scheme that doesn't pan out, no pun intended.
Western expansion,
senseless murders,
dragging corpses into taverns.
Yeah,
all here.
I mean, the guy shot him through the back, and then he towers over him and shoots him in the head. That's really nasty business.
I know. It's overkill, literally. Hey, Jeremy, we just came out of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Partially, you might want to call it a plague.
Yeah, I remember.
So, needless to say, you remember it. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's move. That's a little too soon. So, but what's not too soon is this book on the plague written in 1666 by Thomas Willis. Let me read you this title. This caught my eye. It was in a catalog, the recent catalog by Blackwell's. It's available for £1,250. But let me read you the title to give you a little flavor. It's by Thomas Willis. A plain and easy method for preserving, by God's blessing, those that are well from the infection of the plague, or any contagious distemper in city, camp, fleet, etc., and for curing such as are infected with it. Written in the year 1666. Let me read from this description just a little bit. This treatise on treatments for plague is based on prescriptions prepared by Thomas Willis, physician. Now, here are the prescriptions. It offers a strikingly practical approach.
Wait. Thomas Willis lived from when?
1621 to 1675. This book was actually printed posthumously in 1691.
Okay.
It offers a strikingly practical approach to the dreaded disease, with recipes for medicine to be taken at various stages, as well as pastes and poultices to be applied to lesions and sores. Here's the part I want to get to. Some of his recipes make use of quotidian ingredients, such as strong coffee and tobacco, but most are arcane. Take pimpernel, roasted on the embers, mollify it with oil of scorpions, adding a little powder of myrrh and Venice treacle, and lay it to the sore.
I'm thinking of the witches of Macbeth.
Yeah, he uses vinegar too, thieves' vinegar, butter.
What do the witches in Macbeth cook with? What's the recipe?
There's something about newts in there. Oh, I love this part. Ready? His preparations are fascinating. Okay. Wine and confidence are a good preservative against the plague. Confidence. But the tobacco part, there's no other way to put it. Tobacco enema, he recommended.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the problem was tobacco was poisonous.
Yeah.
So anyway, if I told you to chew that with tobacco yourself to help you with the plague right now, or drink ammonia, for example, or bleach, whatever it was that was being recommended at the time, would you follow this guy's advice at the time?
I don't know. I mean, you've got a plague going on. You're probably desperate.
You are desperate, yeah.
Plus, who am I? I mean, you're probably
illiterate.
I'm probably illiterate, filthy, and facing a bleak and imminent death with the plague going around. So I'm.
So if I told you, though, that Willis was a really serious doctor, he was a founding member of the Royal Society, Oxford grad. He was one of the royal physicians to King Charles I.
Oh, wow.
Robert Hooke was his assistant.
Oh, boy. Wow.
John Locke was in his circle. Robert Boyle, Christopher Wren.
Wow.
He was one of the highest paid people in the country.
So I was imagining myself as some filthy, illiterate peasant. I'd be getting like the physician of the king?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, from his book, I'd be doing everything he says.
Yeah, okay.
Here's my point about this that gets me. I read books like this, and I have the arrogance of the future in my mind. Like, I'm like, oh, look at this ignorant man.
Look at this simpleton.
This is quackery.
But this guy's getting paid £300 per year compared to the annual wage of a college cook was £2.
£2 a year. Well, one of the reasons he got paid so much, and he maybe saved, brought back to life, resuscitated this woman, Anne Green. Want to hear the story?
Yeah, of course.
So Anne Green.
Maybe there's hope for me after all. I mean, the plague is not going to be so bad.
So Anne Green suffered a miscarriage, I think 17 weeks or something like that. It sounds like a real tragedy. But the father of the kid, she was unmarried, but the father of the kid was the grandson of the Justice of the Peace at the time. So the Justice of the Peace has to punish somebody. So he punishes Anne Green. And he punishes her under this is a great detail. He punishes her under the Concealment of Birth of Bastards Act.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Because I guess she wasn't public with her pregnancy.
I feel like this is getting dangerously contemporary.
Yeah. Concealment of Birth of Bastards Act.
Just concealment of birth. Isn't that what we're hearing headlines about that kind of thing?
Well, she was convicted of murder.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. For a miscarriage. Think about that.
I'm getting queasy.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have an altogether unhappy ending here.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah, she's resuscitated. She didn't die. He brings her back.
Yeah, I already spoiled the plot. So she's condemned to hanging.
Oh, man.
And she was so worried about lingering after being hanged that she had friends actually pull her legs this is really a crazy story. Pull her legs to make sure she were really dead.
Oh, God.
So she gets hanged. They take her body down. And old Thomas Willis steps in and says, you know what? I'm doing a postmortem. This is a body I can figure things out from. Because he actually published wonderful anatomy books. So her body was in a casket. And the next day, they open the casket. And there's a pulse. There's a little light pulse.
She's not dead.
So Thomas Willis and another doctor, they're like, oh my gosh. So they revive her. And they revive her with warmth. She slept next to a woman the next night, like wrapped around to give her more warmth.
Wow.
And she came back to life.
Well, I mean, that's what they said, but I think we can pretty much conclude that she had never died in the first place. Right? You sound very credulous there. Right?
Well, I'm trying to get myself into the mindset at the time.
Okay.
Because then what happens? Now you're the justice of the peace, and you're like, she came back to life. Well, we got to hang her again, right?
Yeah.
But luckily for her, the justice of the peace, the grandfather of the impregnator, dies. Like he dies days after the hanging.
Divine intervention.
Yeah, and now there's a public clamor saying, whoa, 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 this is divine intervention. God says she's not guilty. So now you have the people saying, well, it's a botched hanging.
Yeah.
We need to kill her again because people are crazy. And there's the people who say it's divine intervention because it's a different view of things. And divine intervention won out.
Wow.
Happy to say.
Yeah. I like that.
She lived decades more. And she used to carry around her casket with her.
Oh, just in case?
I don't know why. Yeah, she was actually fine, except she had amnesia, just in case. Actually, I don't. You know what the detail I read, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
there was a whole book written about her in the 17th century. Like this is a big deal.
Wow.
So she was fine, except she had amnesia about the whole incident. But anyway, that made Willis famous.
Wow.
Yeah, probably got him that 300-pound.
Was that his first great triumph, or was it?
No, he had other triumphs. You know, one of his great triumphs was his discovery of some of the aspects of diabetes, and diabetes was actually called Willis's disease for a while.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he knew that the urine from a diabetic was sweet.
Yeah, how did he figure that out? He drank urine?
He drank urine. Proudly, I might say.
I hear that J.D. Salinger drank urine.
He drank his own urine. Willis was drinking other people's urine.
What was Salinger's reason for drinking urine?
I don't know, recycling. The best part, I hope you're sitting down for this. He drinks other people's urine, and he describes the urine of a diabetic as, quote, this was published in 1674, wonderfully sweet, as if it were imbued with honey or sugar.
Oh my God.
He could market that. He should be bottling it up.
I just had this vision though. Like he's this experimenter, right?
Yeah.
And he has some people over and he's like, it's like tasting. And the diabetic, he's like, oh, your urine. I mean, it could be a really like warm moment. Oh, that's gross. But it could be a warm moment where he's like, you have such tasty, sweet urine, you know? He's like a sommelier. You know? He goes around and
we don't. But just for historical accuracy, we don't know what you're saying really happened.
I know, but I'm just imagining.
We do know that he drank urine and thought it was delicious.
This could have happened.
Let me just. I guess what I'm thinking. There's a big question here behind this, and I'm always surprised when I read about medicine of how, I guess, non-scientific medicine was for so long. Okay, when we collect science, we collect discoveries. When you look at somebody's collection of these things, it looks like it's a march of success. Great things, one after the other. And you look at history, you're like, wow, look at that progress.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if a more interesting collection would be to actually create a picture of what was known at the time, including the quackeries, including the fake things. Like we collect, it's like a tale of geniuses who were never wrong.
Yeah.
That kind of bothers me.
You'd want to be parsimonious about your selections of quackeries because, I mean, the reason that the big successes are remembered and celebrated is because they're few and far between, whereas, you know, the nutty stuff is all over the place, right? But I take your question. I like it. I think it's a good question.
Maybe something that was influential at the time that's no longer influential. I like that.
Yeah.
Not just any random quackery. You know, this idea of what you should be collecting and what kind of represents the period, you know, to understand the period, it's gotten me thinking about another lot here in this Swan sale in our friendly cataloger. It's a Civil War diary. You know how I love Civil War diaries. But here's one of the reasons I love Civil War diaries. Let me go through
Tell me.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
Good.
Just patience.
You're well caffeinated, aren't you?
Yeah, a lot of espresso. So this diary covers, it's a diary for someone who worked in a hospital during the Civil War. And hospitals in the Civil War were, I mean, they were grim places.
Yeah.
And this guy does not shy away from grim descriptions. But we're going to skip over that because we just had enough grimmery.
Grimmery.
Yes, we had enough grimmery in Mr. Gold Rush.
Okay.
So, just really quickly, this is a Civil War diary from W. Everett Clark. He has a section of meeting President Lincoln. He
Oh,
talks
wow.
about Lincoln being humble. It's just really nice. He talks about him sitting on the floor and kind of going around with him. It's only days before Lincoln's assassinated.
Wait, what's the estimate for this?
He talks about the estimate is it's in the same sale, November 21st at Swan Auction Galleries. Estimate's $1,200 to $1,800.
Oh, that's not right.
No, this is
An account of Lincoln days before he's killed and saying he's humble?
yeah.
Oof.
Uncle Abraham, he calls him.
Uncle Abe.
Yeah. On April 2nd,
I didn't see this at all.
1865. And Lincoln shot on April 14th. He says
Wow.
Uncle Abraham looked much worn, sat and watched the old boy's movements for nearly an hour, and was much interested in what Johnny Bull would call his undignified acts. He even sat flat down on the floor near the cannon while he looked through his glass, and I saw him laugh very heartily before folk. A very undignified proceeding.
Wait, what's the undignified proceeding?
I guess sitting down, but he says it kind of like affectionately. That's how I'm interpreting it. So 8 days later, now we're talking April 10th. Remember, Lincoln shot on April 14th.
Wow.
About noon, the president, wife, Charles Sumner, and others arrived. The president spent several hours in shaking hands with patients in convalescence. Is that great?
That's great.
Really quickly, he talks about the news of surrender on April 9th, 1865, and how exciting it is. The welcome news came of the surrender of Lee and his army, ! In 5 minutes' time, every man in the vast hospital knew it, and such cheering, yelling, whistling, and all manner of noises as were immediately entered into must be heard to be appreciated.
Wow.
Within a few minutes' time, hundreds had assembled round our flagpole. As I put up the glorious old stars and stripes once more, cheer upon cheer, such as only soldiers can give, arose. Isn't that beautiful?
That is great.
Takes you right to the moment.
Yeah.
But here's why I bring this up. The whole reason I'm bringing up this description is for this line. This is the cataloger speaking. Civil War diaries are sometimes like multiple versions of a novel with the same plot, written by thousands of different authors. That's got me thinking.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like all these firsthand sources, when you look at them from a certain period of time, it's like a wonderful cubist painting. You're seeing all these different perspectives, trying to piece together what really happened.
Yeah.
It's a great way to think about primary documents.
If you could figure out who this cataloger is, and I'm sure we could do that, that might be the basis of a collection itself.
What's the basis of a collection?
Interesting catalog descriptions penned by this anonymous or unknown cataloger at Swan. What about that?
Now that sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Well, so what?
So think about that, though.
Think about what?
Think about any piece of history. If you look hard enough, you can have all these perspectives, and you could.
Yeah.
I would love a collection of picking a part of history I really like and just getting as many firsthand sources of different perspectives.
Okay, so how about Civil War diaries and letters?
Well, I do.
Look no further.
I know. I think they're great. I do think they're great.
Yeah.
And once you start really delving in, you want more and more and more.
Going back to other perspectives on the same event, there, again, the Swan sale, there's I should have mentioned this earlier, but
it's a good sale.
It's a good sale. There's also a diary. There's another Gold Rush diary that I should mention. One, because it's interesting in and of itself, but two, because the estimate is quite a bit lower than the one we were talking about just a moment ago. So it's the diary of one Abel E. Babcock, lot 49. So it's just the one right after the Warren Porter archive. And this diary is from 1851 through 1852. And again, in the description, they just emphasize how much violence this guy encountered. Arriving in California in poor health and with very little money, Babcock very quickly learns the desperate side of the Californian dream.
Oof.
Right? Taking a boat upriver.
That's a good way to put it.
He settles at Mud Springs, now El Dorado, past Sacramento, where he notes the day after his arrival, nothing to do and money nearly all gone.
No, I'm looking at this. This is gruesome too. There's gruesomeness everywhere. Can we're dwelling too much on gruesomeness.
August 23, he writes, last week there were 3 suicides. Cause, mental derangement caused by disappointed hopes.
It's the Wild West.
The Wild West. 152 pages. And the estimate is $3,000 to $4,000. So to me, that is some exciting stuff.
You like reading about gruesomeness.
Well, no, look, I mean, if this was a novel or a movie, I'd watch it or I'd read it. I mean, it's gruesome. It's gritty. It's authentic. It
is authentic. There's no...
Listen to this. He writes, the town is all excitement as the Indians have killed one Chinaman and wounded 4 others badly. A posse of men, well armed, soon started in pursuit of the murderers and succeeded in capturing one of them, who is now a prisoner. Several shots were fired at others, but to no purpose. The Indians returned the fire. The murdered man was brought in late last night. He was horribly mangled, his skull all broken to pieces,
Oh, jeez.
and brains all
Come on.
bare.
Oh,
I
jeez.
wonder, could there have been some overlap with? I mean, this preceded the demise of Warren Porter, but still, same idea. The Indian that was taken yesterday is now hanging to the limb of a
Oh,
tree
God.
by the neck.
Why are you doing this?
Why not? I'm
I
gonna
was
stop
just
laughing.
talking about glee and joy at the end of the Civil War.
Okay, he was horribly mangled, his skull all broken to
No.
pieces,
No.
brains all bare.
Yeah. Can we talk about something else?
Yeah, let's talk about Moby Dick. There's a copy coming up at Potter and Potter, and the estimate is $10,000 to $20,000. And
What caught your eye about Moby Dick?
okay, so this is just such a hard book to buy in nice shape. You know, the
It
cloth,
is.
it's just terrible. It's usually just in terrible shape. The cloth is like fatigued, stained, circular spots on it.
I think you've called copies ghastly before.
Ghastly. It's really not hard to land on the word ghastly when you're looking at your average copy of Moby Dick in the original cloth binding.
Right.
And so I'm looking at this, and the binding is near contemporary, half dark green Morocco over marbled boards.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. That looks pretty contemporary.
Right? It looks contemporary. Solid.
Solid, yeah, of the period.
Okay, so skillfully recased. Not great, but that's fine. And anyway, the point is, like, this is not a great copy, but $10,000 to $20,000. Just I look at this and I'm like, would I rather have that and just not even engage in dealing with the stress of looking at a poor copy of Moby Dick in the original cloth? I mean, yes, of course, you'd love to get one in a fine copy with the cloth in fabulous shape and the gilt in good shape and everything like that. Square copy, $75,000, $100,000, maybe $125,000. But that's also a lot of money and hard to come by.
And you can't really handle it, and you wouldn't really read from it because
Right.
you'd be
So
so nervous of messing it up.
yeah, I'm asking you, for $35,000, you could buy a copy in the original cloth that's in pretty rough shape, or you could buy this. For, let's say you get this for 15 or 20, or what do you prefer?
My knee-jerk reaction is, of course I want it in cloth. I look at rebounds and I go, oh, it's a rebound. But if I'm just a human being and not a bookseller,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I might want this.
It's solid, right? It's a nice snug. I mean, I don't know. I haven't handled this, but like it looks solid. I know what books that look like this feel like when you hold them when they're right. They smell pretty good usually. They have a nice, snug, solid, quality about them, and the binding is near contemporary. And you're sort of going in knowing like
Smell
I'm
good.
not what.
What do you mean they smell good? People talk about that, the smell of bookshops. It's usually dust.
I know, but this book, if the binding's in nice shape, if it's been well,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about,
you know what I mean?
actually.
It's got like a nice little,
Getting a little sentimental.
yeah. Those marbled boards, they're cool.
They are cool.
It's not trying to be anything that it's not. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, I see your point. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I actually don't know. I want to agree with you because rationally, I really want to agree with you. Emotionally, I'm not there yet, though.
I mean, see, my argument is kind of emotional. You take the stress of, paying $30,000 or $40,000 for a copy that is not that attractive in the original cloth. You take that off the table. You have conceded. I'm not getting a fine copy. I'm not going for 75. I'm not going to go for $85,000, $100,000. Like you've just closed that door, and now you're like,
No,
okay,
I can't do it. I can't do it.
why?
I can't do it. I don't know. I can't do it. I want to see the book as it came out.
All right, so I know you do, but say you buy this one for 20,000, maybe 15, who knows? Maybe you get lucky. And now you have, let's say, you have like $60,000, $70,000. I mean, you could left over. That's a whole collection unto itself.
I mean, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Okay, what do you buy with that $60,000 left over?
And I might just skip the whole book. I love the book too.
It's a great book.
I revisit it every now and then.
This is a buyable copy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't chase this. But I'm saying if you got this at the right price, at the end of that sale, you could give yourself a little pat on the back.
I see your point.
And you would never regret it. Once you had it in your hands.
No, you might regret it.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, you might.
No, you wouldn't.
You don't know what the future is.
Well, depending on personal circumstances, but if you bought this book at say 15 or 20,000, you would not have made a mistake. Number one. Number two, you'd enjoy it when you had it. And if you ever wanted to trade up or get out, it wouldn't be too difficult.
Right. So you're all right. That's the book for you.
I like it. Because Moby Dick just stresses me out. It's so hard to find a nice copy of Moby Dick. It really is. It's a really aggravating
Don't
book.
you have other stresses in your life to supplant that?
Yeah.
I actually totally agree. Yeah, I do agree.
You just take it. You just take that one out. Now, the problem would be if you had a collection of 19th century literature and you had other, major works in the original cloth binding, and then you had this one sitting there in this.
All right, I have a confession to make.
Okay, tell me.
I
Confess.
just cataloged a Huck Finn today, and it's in a beautiful Bainton binding from around 1900, but it has the original covers bound in. And I was thinking the same thing. I was like, look at this. I could sit down and read this. And the cover, it's from around 1900, beautiful leather. And the original cloth is bound in. So I'm looking at it at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's a lot cheaper.
Yeah. You can live a good life learning to accept pretty good.
So I just had this conversation with myself.
You did?
Yeah.
Why didn't you call me? I would have talked you through this.
Yeah. Well, I was a short conversation.
Well, listen, I care.
So yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. I really understand it. You're making total sense, and I do agree. Okay. I was playing a little difficult.
That's okay.
I like to be difficult.
I'm glad you admitted it.
So just one last thing, because it's coming up this week, and I'd really like to dive into this more, but I only found out about it today. There's a Kafka manuscript coming up for sale. Kafka manuscript.
Kafka.
What if you heard those words in a sentence?
Astonishing. We have to come back to this.
Yeah, it's coming up in Germany.
It's unbelievable.
I have to figure out exactly what it is. I don't know if
it's a bit of a mystery. This might be a later in the week episode unto itself. This is exciting. This
is really crazy. Yeah, because I just reading the story. It's only a 3-page story, and I am blown away. First Sorrow is the story.
And he was so reluctant to send it on.
Comes with a letter discussing his reluctance.
Yeah, basically, like, if you want to throw this away, by all means, be my guest.
Christian Hess auctions in Germany on November 23rd, which is this week. Literally just found out about this today.